What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Pepper with Everett. And today we have a very special guest, a four-time now national champion, coming off his fourth national championship, his second as a coach, two as a player, two as a coach. He is the head coach of the Trinity Western Spartans out of Manitoba, none other than Mr. Adam Schriemer. Adam, welcome to the show. How you doing? Congratulations.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Everett. Doing great. Yeah, things are great over here in Langley, and happy to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I mean, normally you and I are pretty used to doing these types of chats at nationals, with a medal around your neck, holding the trophy. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it this year, but had to chat with you after your second national championship as a coach, fourth as a player, or fourth altogether, as I just said. But first and foremost, how are you feeling now? It's been about a week that you've been a national champion for the fourth time. How are you feeling? Has it settled in? Take us through some of the emotions that you've been feeling since then.
Yeah, great question. Honestly, you kind of feel a little bit of everything. Obviously in the moment right after you win, like there's a ton of joy and a ton of excitement. But then even kind of as that night starts to go on and you start to reflect a little bit, in some ways you start to feel a little bit of sadness, mostly because of just like the senior group and the fact that, knowing that our graduating guys will no longer be with us. So that's always something that's kind of unique to kind of navigate is knowing that some of our key guys, especially that we had this year, like, four of our starters, like, Corey, Jackson, Ansem, Tate, Liam, like, those guys, they won't be back. So I think navigating that's a little bit hard. But I think the biggest thing is just like, we're just so excited for our guys. Those guys work so hard and, I'm just super proud of them and happy for them to have the results that they got. But yeah, honestly, man, you feel everything over the course of, I guess, celebrating a championship. So um, definitely excited for our guys though.
It was a little bit of a different year this year. No Alberta for the first time in forever. I mean, that is one of the most classic rivalries in U Sports or CIS men's volleyball. Alberta and Trinity. I don't know how many times you guys have met in the final, but it's been quite a bit. This is Trinity's eighth championship in the past 20 years. Your first championship was 20 years ago in 2006. 10 years ago, you yourself won your first one. And now 10 years later in 2026, you win another one. Take us through the tournament a little bit. First and foremost, I think we have to address the biggest
Yeah,
win, maybe. You got over the Western
yeah.
hump. You got over the Western curse,
hmm
and you're finally able to take down the Western Mustangs, which you previously had been 0-2 against.
Yeah, no, exactly. So one, Sean McKay, who obviously was the setter for Western,
Yeah,
and is now the head coach of Saskatchewan. He's become a good friend over the years. He's can
beauty.
be a little less quiet about it now. I think the fact that he still beat us twice, though, while he was the setter, I know he's still going to give me a hard time, but at least our program is 1-2 now. That was the big one, honestly. The moment we won Canada West, like right after the game, I'm sitting there with Ben Ball and Joel Jansen, TSR staff, and I'm like, we're going to be the one seed, and we're going to play Western in the quarter. Like we just knew that's how it was going to shake up. And we were immediately like straight up nervous. We just won Canada West, and we're like, man, we got to play Western. Thankfully, like that's been a long time now since like the last time we lost Western was when I was a freshman in
Yeah,
my
12
first
years.
year. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's been a while. So a lot of our players actually weren't too aware of it, which is good because they weren't. I guess they were nervous for the fact that we're playing at nationals in the quarterfinal, but there was no added pressure of the fact that we got to beat Western. The coaches felt it for sure. So it was funny in the post game comments, just like for our press release on our website. I acknowledged that we got the monkey off our back. And I had a couple former teammates that I played with that we had lost to Western with. They reached out to me thanking me that I acknowledged that we finally beat Western. So um, yeah, that was big to get that quarterfinal in, and it was huge that our guys played great in that game. To get that one done in three is huge. So anytime you can play the quarterfinal and somehow win that game in three, that's massive because the tournament is long, it's grueling, 3 games in a row, pretty hard on our bodies. So to have a clean, quick one in the first game is huge. And then we were excited. We didn't know much about Montreal and Windsor. We knew we'd be playing the winner of them, but then when we saw that Windsor won, we were super excited to play the host. That's something I feel like almost every year we're at nationals, we seem to play the host.
I feel
Yeah.
like Trinity Western thrives playing the host. I don't think
Yeah,
I've ever seen you guys lose to a host in person either. Like I think it's you guys are pretty good
yeah.
against
You
host
would have
teams at
saw
nationals.
2024 Queens. That's the last time we lost to a host.
True.
Um,
Yeah. I that's true. I
yeah.
remember that.
And then, but yeah, so we're excited to play the host. Like Windsor one, they did an amazing job running the tournament too. Their fans really showed up. Like our guys after that game were just telling stories about how their fans were giving us a hard time throughout the match, and even Ben Ball's got a good story about some of the fans even getting on our staff a little bit. But playing the host was great. Such an amazing atmosphere. And then that Windsor team, man, they didn't go away. Like we were playing great the first two sets, and in that third set, even when we had a bit of an advantage. Man,
You guys were up
they
like
came
22
back.
20 in the third there. Like it looked like you guys
Yeah,
were going to be able to close it out in three.
yeah, that's what we kind of were thinking too. And then that Windsor team just didn't go away, and then we went back and forth in the fourth. So, the again playing the home team is amazing, and Windsor really showed out, which is cool. And that's a veteran team. Like we knew that Windsor team was full of seniors, and we knew that they weren't going down without a fight. So that really made that third and fourth set super interesting. We were just happy we were able to close that one in four because playing the fifth set against the home team would have been a nightmare, honestly. And
Yeah.
then we had the final.
Now, heading into the final, obviously, like UBC and Trinity Western, I feel like it's not quite at the level of rivalry, an immediate rivalry like you guys have with Alberta,
Yeah.
but anyone in that,
Excuse me.
Vancouver lower mainland area knows that once the alumni go on, there is a massive rivalry between the Spartans and the
Mhm.
UBC guys, whether it's on Kits Beach, whether it's in the Vancouver Super League. It's a very friendly rivalry. Don't get me wrong. But
Mhm.
there's a little bit of back and forth between UBC and Trinity Western. And now you guys were 1-1 against the Thunderbirds in the regular season this year. You split a couple of five setters. So what's the thought process as you're heading into a final against a team that you guys know so well? I'm sure you guys played each other in exhibition games a number of times in the preseason and over the Christmas break and stuff like that. So as you're heading into that final, how much preparation goes into that? And, are you guys kind of hearing it from some of the alumni back home? Because we can't lose to these guys because if not, we're going to hear it for a long time.
Mhm. Yeah, no, for sure. I think the cool part about, I guess, when you play a Canada West team at nationals is you know them a little bit better. I think that's
Yep.
probably the hard part about Western is we didn't have much information on them, so you kind of go into that game a little bit blind. And then same thing for Windsor. Like we only had a few matches, so we're kind of game planning pretty late in the night, and then kind of learning about who they are as a team on the fly. The nice part about playing UBC is we know them really well. The hard part is we know how good they are. We know what they're going to do. The question is, are we good enough to stop it? Is kind of the challenge. So that yeah, that was hard in that sense. And then I think in these championship games, we gotta, there's been a lot of rivalries and there's been a lot of, key matchups over the year. I think the big thing we tried to talk about is not making those things bigger than what it is. Like we know that beating UBC is hard enough, right? To attach some sort of regional rivalry to it and create this extra narrative and add extra noise to it. Like I don't think that would really help us. So I think the biggest thing we try to help our guys get confidence in is just understanding that they know them very well, right? We know their spikers. We know what their team is like. We know what Greaves does. We know that they're awesome, but they're going to be a challenge is whether or not we can actually do it. So trying to build some confidence in them and understand that we know these guys really well, and then just get them in a good mindset to try and play. But it definitely makes it harder. Like after the fact when there's these games that you play really good teams and there's rivalries. Like it creates cool stories after the fact, but going into the game, it makes your preparation pretty hard. So we just try to lock our guys in and just be really good at honestly playing the next point.
Fair enough. And I mean, it was an up and down game. It was back and forth. You guys looked fantastic at some times. Like the sets you guys won, you guys were great. The sets you guys lost, it was pretty bad. So how were you able to manage that, wave of emotion, point in and point out? Because,
Mhm.
you guys win the first 25-22, get crushed in the second 25-15, win the third. And I mean, you guys missed, I don't know how many serves in the third. Your
13.
offense was 13 serves in the third. Yikes. So your offense was clicking, hitting a 529 efficiency, 15 missed serves.
Mhm.
You go up to 2-1, 24 or 26-24, and then it's 25-11. 25-11 in the fourth. Now, do you think that, there's two sides of it? A, You guys get crushed. You don't have any of the momentum. UBC is absolutely rolling, but you do get to rest some of your key guys. You know, you took off Kaden, you took off a few of the other guys. Do you think that was maybe to your benefit that that the fourth set went so well for UBC that you're able to rest some of those guys and get ready for the fifth set?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. In some ways, looking back at it, maybe because there wasn't like that. With the sets we lost them immediately, right? Like all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you feel like you're in a game, and then all of a sudden we're down like 13-3 or something. And you're just, oh, Everett's over. Like, okay. And then we were just ready to move on to the next set. There wasn't really that feeling of having a big emotional loss where you feel like you're in it and you lost your opportunity. So in some sense, maybe yes. I think the how we were able to navigate that game pretty well was interesting because one of the themes we kind of had this year was, and this might sound bizarre, is just play to win. When obviously you might think, oh, that's weird, like obviously play to win. But sometimes, in sport and sometimes examples to our team, we were getting so distracted with stuff that wasn't actually helping us win the next point, right? And case in point to playing Western. Okay, we're trying to, get this monkey off our back because we lost to them 12 years ago. Well, that's not going to help you win the next point, right? If you're thinking about you gotta, crush this narrative that we can't beat Western in the quarterfinal, well then we're not going to be in a good headspace to win the next point, right? And I think that's actually what helped us in this game as well. Is man, we could be rattled that we just got murdered in the fourth set of the national final in a set that we had an opportunity to win the championship, but our guys just got so locked in on just being dialed on the next point and understanding that we may not win it, we might be playing horrible, they might be playing great, that doesn't matter, right? Just be in a good spot where you can be locked in for your job to win the next point. And I do actually think that really helped us because our guys got to a point where we were never rattled, right? UBC's awesome, right? Greaves, Gingera, Pratt, those guys, so good. They're going to make amazing plays. Well, no problem. We move on and then we play the next point, right? We're going to have a section where we can't serve, right? We miss 13 serves. Well, no problem. We can play to win the next point. And that's kind of how we navigated the rough serving. The reality is the national final happened to be our worst serving match of our season. That's tough. You don't want that, right? The nice part is we're actually great in first ball and great in transition, and that's kind of how we navigated the game. We're in timeouts, and it's like, hey guys, believe it or not, you're actually playing great. Like we're winning first ball and we're winning transition. We just can't serve. And then Kaden Schmidt's like, we can't serve yet. I'm like, yes, that's right. We can't serve yet. Like if we just serve a couple more, right? We don't have to all of a sudden serve 100% in the rest of the game. You all just got to serve one serve better. If we do that, then our team will be much better. And then that's kind of what happened late in the game. We were able to serve in, get them off the net a little bit, and got our transition going. So I think that play to win mindset was kind of huge for us. And I know that probably seems weird, but it locked us in to not get distracted with stuff that doesn't matter. If you could block in for the next point, then we could be hard to play against. And I think we were, even after sections where we played pretty rough over, the second and fourth set.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the box score on this, some might be like, hey, looks like Trinity just barely got away from UBC on this one. But when you guys were playing well, it was well. And I mean, that momentum that you guys brought into the fifth set was very infectious. You brought up Kaden there and his attitude mentality. How do I put this? He plays in a almost very unlike a very unlike Trinity way, where a lot of the times, your guys, like if I think of the big players in the history of Trinity Western, the Rudies and the Marshalls and the Lepkes and the Nick Del Biancos and, Sheerhorns and Sklaters, they're all pretty like reserved, calm, cool guys. They're all guys who would make big plays, come down, turn in, like big cheer to your guys, but they're not really showmen. Whereas Kaden is the exact opposite. I mean, it seemed like he was a bit of a crowd favorite over there in Windsor, and he's running around and he's making faces and he's chest bumping with the boys on the bench. How do you try to, like wrap up that energy a lot, or do you just kind of let him flow?
Yeah, I think at this point we've just let Kaden be Kaden. I mean, anyone who knows Kaden just understands like what an amazing personality is, right? And what a great teammate he is. Just how much like passion and joy he plays with. And anyone who watches Caden play loves Caden. And I think Caden has such an amazing job of just giving his gift to the program. Like Caden's one of the most unique personalities I've ever met, and coaching him has just been such a joy. So we want to let Caden be Caden because he really ups like the vibes and the feel and the atmosphere on our team. So I think it would be not fair to Caden to try and restrict him a little bit. I think there are times for sure, like me as his coach, I'm just like, oh, Caden, maybe can we focus a little bit more? Like, but it's like, but he's admitted that when he knows he's like in that mode and he's feeling it, that he just doesn't look at me because he knows I'm gonna tell him to like focus a bit more. So it's like, I don't know, Caden's great. Like anyone that watches Caden play just loves him, right? And we just want our guys to be able to be themselves, and in some ways, respect the tradition and how we operate our program, but also give their gift to the program. And that's what Caden's done such an amazing job of it. We're no surprise that he's become a fan favorite because, yeah, he's just plays with a ton of joy and passion that everyone loves.
I mean, you can feel the passion he plays with every time he hits the ball, because I don't think he knows what a roll shot is, which is ironic because he spent some time on the beach as well.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, his velocity is crazy. I mean, he broke our record this year with serving 127 kilometers. And then before that, he broke the record when he served 124. So, like, man, he's put a ton of work, one in the weight room getting stronger, but two, just on his arm swing mechanics, especially with our coach, Nick Del Bianco, to be really efficient. So he's a beast. And he's, uh, he's fun to watch in that sense because of I guess the physicality he plays with.
He's coming back for another year. He's coming back for a fifth.
So I watched your review of the championship. He is coming back. I know you're thinking that he might leave. So I mean, he tells me he's coming back. We've had amazing outsides after their fourth year say they're coming back, but then all of a sudden there's an offer that's too good for them, so they end up leaving. Um, he tells me he's coming back. That's the plan. I'm gonna have to fight off some contracts, I guess. But the plan is for Caden to come back, and then be closer to graduate, and then 1 year from now he'll be looking to go overseas. So that's the plan. And I for my sake, I hope he comes back. But I also know that he's probably ready to go play pro. But I think he's he plans to come back. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like velocity wise and physicality wise, I think he's definitely ready to go play pro. Um, Personally, just looking at some of his box scores, I'd like to see him dial back on those errors just a little bit. And I'm sure as his coach, you might feel the same. So maybe that's the next maturation of his game is just dialing back a
Mhm.
little bit on the errors. But that will make you guys quite a bit dangerous. But heading back to this national final, do you feel like maybe you got a little bit of your monkey off your back? Because as I mentioned, this is your second national title as a head coach. However, the first one was right after Benjo left. And, that was in so many ways, that was Benjo's team. And you've
Mhm.
got the Elser brothers, you've got Brody, you've got this stacked team that, really knows how to play well again, like well together, so well together. And maybe, there's a bit of a sense that you guys left a little bit on the table at the national championship the year before, losing to Alberta. Fast forward, the next year, you, as you mentioned, lose in the first round to Queens. Queens is playing at home, and everyone knows that playing in the Arc is tough, especially at nationals. Alberta did the same thing back in 2012, and then the next year, you guys don't even qualify for nationals, which is pretty much unheard of for a team who's won 40% of the national championships and been in like 80% of the national championships in the past 20 years. So did you feel like you got a little bit of the monkey off of your back where, you were able to prove that, hey, not only can this team still be a powerhouse and we can still make nationals and I can still win it all now that it's my team?
Yeah, straight up in some sense, yes. Like I think, um, I always tell Ben that he just gave us a championship, and then, in that first year he left out. I mean, there's no secret. The team that we won with in 23 was quite loaded. Brody, Jesse, Matthias, Henry, like those guys were just like
Yeah.
four of the elite players in the country. And in some sense, like that year, the mindset for me was honestly just like get this team to play as clean as we can and get them in a good headspace where they feel like they can play their best because we truly believe that we were the best team in the country. And then they were able to do it. And then I think since then, it's kind of been the transition of, me making this a bit more my team. Like in some ways, my first year head coaching, I did kind of feel like, I was still coaching Ben's team in some sense. And those guys played for Ben, right? They played for Ben for 4 years, and then they played for me for 1 year, and then from there it's kind of been a transition of kind of building this next team. And so I, in some ways, yeah, definitely like happy and proud of like our new system of how we're operating things here. Like we are a different team now under my leadership, and me and Ben and Joel and Tias and our new staff here. So And I'm just proud of our staff for how we operate. Like, and then proud of our players. Like we have a new method and we have our own way of operating now. And I'm happy that, really our what I would say our third year of operating, that we were able to get a championship and play at a really good level all year long. And to be honest, it was an amazing season. Like, we finished at Canada West as the 2 seed and we went 17-3. And then once we got Pierce back, we were really a dominant team through the Canada West playoffs. So for sure, Mikey off the back, I understand there's always going to be noise of, people saying, this is Benjo's team and, is Adam able to do it, but I think the reality is I'm proud of our staff and how we're operating. And I'm, yeah, just proud of our guys that we were able to have a really good growth over the 3 years. Like, I think if you look at the trajectory of the 3 years, even though last year was a bit of a step back, I think this core group got a lot better as they became the key guys to be, eventually a championship team.
It as you mentioned, a lot of those 50-year guys who are moving on, the Ansels and the Coreys, those are the last group of guys that got coached by Ben at
Mhm.
all. And I know he was actually in Windsor. Was it special to have Ben there in Windsor there cheering you guys on as he won another national title?
Yeah, that's something I'll never forget, is just having been there. When he called me before the tournament saying that he'd be able to make it, like, yeah, it was amazing. I mean, but I felt a ton of pressure too because Ben's my coach. I took over for Ben. Like, he's the GOAT, right? He's the best to do it. And to have him there, I was like, oh man, we better do this. But just having him there and, getting to point to him after we won the championship and giving him a hug, like, that is something I'll never forget. And we were joking, like, we were both crying in each other's arms after the game. We were just hugging. And then Ben's like, I felt like we've had that hug before, but it's just kind of, we've played in many championships together, and whether we won or we lost, we just hug each other crying. So to have that moment with Ben there one more time, the most legendary Spartan of all, Benjo, to be there, like, yeah, so special for our program. And I know those guys that played for Ben, that fifth year group, Corey Ansom, those guys, Corn, they were excited to see him and happy to share that moment with him as well. So, um, yeah, amazing to see Ben.
It's I think it's special too. '06, Trinity wins their first championship ever. 2016, you win your first championship. But I'm also going to say that 2016 championship, for many reasons, we don't need to get into it too much, is maybe the one that you guys stole, right? Especially with how good Alberta was that year. That McMaster team was absolutely loaded with Marr and Danny and Coppers and all these guys who are now playing pro overseas. You guys had a sick Scott Ploktis who was somehow holding everything together, and you guys kind of stole that national final. And then, this one now, as much as you just said your first national championship was a little bit due to Ben Joe, and now this is completely your team. Do you kind of feel that there's this like 10-year cycle now? Like, what are we expecting in 2036 from the Trinity Western Spartans?
Oh, geez. Yeah, good question. Um, yeah, I don't know. I hope I keep doing these calls with you to just talk about the amazing season we had. That would be the goal. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just like we talked about. We just have a method and you have a process, and you just try to be good at be good. We want to try and recruit, you know, athletes that have transferable skills that to our level. We got to try and coach them up and get them stronger so that they can, put themselves in a position to be on the court, and then prepare them for matches mentally and so that they can just go play. Like, I think the in some ways, like the method or like the process can be kind of simple. It's just really hard to do consistently. And that's what makes these runs just so impressive. Like, I mean, okay, you talk about Alberta didn't make it for the first time in 24 years. It's like, are we talking, do you understand how impressive that is? Like, they went to nationals 24 years in a row. Like,
So
how
impressive.
Ben got to final. What did Ben got to, like, how many finals did Ben get to in a row or something? Like 8 or 9 or something. Like, it was like, what he went,
Quite a
he would have went from 15
few.
to 23.
Yeah, 15 to 23 essentially. Yeah. I
15 to
mean,
23.
you
Yeah.
do have to take out, unfortunately, like 20 and 21
COVID.
there,
Yeah, the COVID
because
years.
of the COVID years. But I mean, hey, we all know what that roster looked back in 2020.
Yeah, for sure.
I have talked to him about that being like, where do you think that team would have stacked up compared to like the 2012 team, which I still
Yeah,
hold as a little bit of of
2012.
the
That's right.
pinnacle,
And
right?
yeah,
That
2020
2012
never,
team
I
was
guess, got that chance to win. But yeah,
no
2012, right?
that
Ben and Rudy and Marshall and those guys, JVD, Van Perkel. Yeah,
I mean,
unbelievable.
that's a little bit
Howison.
of the
Yeah,
pinnacle. Howitson, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Howitson, Offerins at libero.
yeah.
Just like, but Nick Del Bianco was sitting on the bench for that team. That's how
Hmm.
good that team was.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I
So
think it's just we just try to you try to recruit good players every year, bring them in, coach them up, get them ready, um and then you just try to be in a good spot where you prepare your team to do the best they can, and then sometimes years work out for you, sometimes they don't, right? You talked about, 2016 was a year that we would have never thought we won, but somehow we won. But then there's 2022, or we would have thought like, man, that's our year for sure, and you somehow don't win. So you can't really put your finger on like why some years are better than others, but um, I think you just got to be consistent with your method, and the big thing is just not get complacent, right? Because there's always always teams that are trying to get to the top, and we happen to get to the top this year, but you really see how hungry teams are when they don't get to the top, and I think that's what we learned about this year's group. Last year was a hard year for us. We underachieved. We didn't do well for many different reasons, but the group responded in a really cool way that they recovered this year with the Canada West and U Sports Championship. So it was amazing to see this year's response from last year's kind of rough season.
and I mean that's a difficult thing to do. Like with how competitive the Canada West is, it's not uncommon for, the Canada West champion to not win U Sports because like we see Manitoba from this year. Manitoba was what, sixth during the regular season, and then
Mm-hmm.
make that run sixth or fifth, and make that
I
run
think the fifth,
through
yeah.
through UBCO, beating UBC in the semis, and then taking down Alberta to make the U Sports National Championships, and ended up with a third. Like it just shows how strong the Canada West is. So being able to win both of them is actually a bigger feat than most would think.
Yeah, thanks. And that's why even when we won Canada West, I was super proud and happy for our guys that regardless of what happened at Nationals, that they would have this to look back to and be very
Yeah.
proud of because, like you said, the Canada West Conference very difficult. And then obviously we ended up getting the U Sports Championship, which just makes me just so happy for our guys. But yeah, we put a lot of weight and emphasis on Canada West because if you win that, then you prove yourself. You're one of the best, and you put yourself in a good position to go play at the championship too.
Now you've mentioned a lot about like kind of like the process and almost like the identity of Trinity Western Volleyball. And now when Benjo was the coach, the identity was one of intensity. They were always very intense teams, a high-powered offense, and some really good blocking. Now, what does that identity and that process kind of and that standard look like when now that it's an Adam Schreimer team?
Yeah, good question. I think some of the feedback I've probably gotten is like Um, this group played with probably a lot more like energy and excitement than maybe they've seen different Spartan teams in the past. Like you talked about with Kaden, it's like there weren't a lot
Yeah.
of players that played like Kaden on previous teams. Not that that's something that I'm doing as the head coach and Ben didn't, but I do think that's some sort of feedback we've gotten is just excuse me, how much just like public energy and joy and like the infectious energy that the guys play with. So that's probably something that's really cool. And I do think what was cool about our tournament is I think throughout the Canada's playoffs, our blocking really started to show, which is good. For whatever reason, it didn't show as much in the national tournament, but I think this is one of the best defensive teams we've ever had. I think if you look back to some of the to the first set, and to the third set, and then some moments in the fifth set, just like some of the plays that we were making defensively was really cool. Like the fact that we got Tate Callis on a team who was a U Sports or sorry Canada West Libero of the Year, and then we got Cade, who's an amazing defender, Willem Van Heusen, who played a very cool role for us on honestly pretty similar to what Scott Blacktis did 2016. Like he's an amazing defender. So I do think that was really really cool for our team this year. Was kind of um, the different skill we had defensively as previous teams. You might have seen blocking be a bit more of a strength for us.
Fair enough. So I guess the next question for me is Ansel Ryan joining the coaching staff for next year, or is he moving
Yeah.
on? Because that is the trend now with the Trinity Western Spartans. You've got Ben Ball, yourself, Matthias Elser, Nick Del Bianco's on that bench. Hell, I'm pretty sure I saw Jordan Schnitzer hanging around you guys as well.
Mhm.
You guys are just collecting former national players of the year like they're infinity stones out there.
Yeah, that's right. No, I mean, man, I wish Slammer could join our staff, but Slammer is going to go play pro in Germany next year. And honestly, Slammer is one of those guys that I know a lot of our previous setters, myself, Bent Ball, the Warden, they
Oh
didn't
yeah,
have long
the
pro careers.
Sorry, Ep. I
Yeah,
apologize.
yeah. we didn't have a lot of long pro careers. I think Ansem has exactly what it takes to go play for 15 years and then, kill it in the Bundesliga and then go play for the German national team. Man, that guy is so dialed, he is so focused, and he is so motivated to be the best he can. And Benjo would always say the best players in the world get better the longest, and that is absolutely Ansem. I just know for the next 15 years, he's just going to continue getting a little bit better and better just because of how dialed he is in every single thing he does, which is going to make us very excited for a number of years to attach our name to him because, man, I know, 10 years from now, I'm going to put on some Bundesliga game and there's going to be Ansem just killing it, or I'll be watching, VNL and Ansem's killing it with Germany. So unfortunately, he won't join our staff, which is too bad. We love adding more setters and making that setters video just as full as it can be. But he's going to go play in Germany next year. Um, yeah, he's going to play in Germany, not public what team he's going to yet, but he's going, and we're pumped to watch him play.
I mean, it is almost like a rite of passage for Spartans players to go on straight to Germany. How many of your guys gone on to? I mean, Jesse's on Lundberg now. So is Jackson.
Jackson, yeah.
Yeah, I guess the only two who have not really gone on to Germany right away are like Brody and Lepke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess both those guys went right to Italy.
Both those guys
Or did Brody go to
to
Poland
Italy.
first? Brody went to Poland, I think.
No,
And then
Brody went to Poland first. You are right. Yeah. And then he went to Italy.
But yeah,
and then to Czechia. But
yeah, that's right.
it is a bit of a pipeline that you guys over there. Stefan Hubner, thanks you guys year after year. I'm very sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, talking about that coaching staff, how much do they play a part into all of this? You've got the mind of Ben Ball, who I'm sure is just phenomenal. Matthias Elser, especially like talking to him and listening to his podcast recently, like his outlook and how he approaches the game, I think is so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the absolute vibes and highlights of Joel Jansen. So what's it like to have such a dialed in staff like some of those guys?
Yeah. Yeah, I want to make sure I hit on all those three. One, Tias, I thought he prepared our mindset really well for the tournament. Tias is someone that's got a very fresh perspective on playing in these games. After I kind of gave some experience after the semifinal about like the national final is so different. It's such a unique game to play in. Benjo would always say these games have nothing to do with volleyball, and I never really understood what he meant until you start to play in a couple of them, and then you start to really reflect on it. These games are all about just handling the moment. And Tias, we talked about how going into that game, there can be a ton of doubts and a ton of fear in your mind. But Tias put our guys in a really good mindset of just understanding like why you're scared is about the fear and the thought that you might lose. Like, what if I lose? What happens if we lose? But Tias kind of was able to flip our perspective to being like, guys, we might win tomorrow. Like, what happens if we win? And that was able to really just give our guys a different kind of lens to view the game in. And like you said, Tias is just so sharp and so wise and really just sees things in a very different light than a lot of people I've met. So he was really huge in this championship run to upgrade our guys' perspective and mindset going into the games and to not play with fear and to play with more of like hope and, the excitement that we might win. So that was kind of a theme throughout the playoffs, especially going into the finals. Like, we might win. We might win. Like, that's what we're talking about in timeouts. Believe it or not, we're
Mm-hmm.
going into the fifth set. We're like, guys, we might win. And the guys were excited about the thought that we might win, not the fear that we might lose, the excitement that we might win, which is probably hilarious over here. Like a team being like, we might win, we might win. But that actually helps our mindset. And then with Ben, I think, yeah, Ben's just the most consistent person with that program. Like, he's been here every day since 2007 in his freshman year. He's just been so dialed. And the beauty part about Ben is he's going to be exactly the same, right? Whether you're doing a rep session in September or you're prepping for the national final, Ben is Ben. And the consistency that he operates with everything you do makes him so easy to work with and be around and gives such good peace of mind. Right? When I'm freaking out before a national final, I just go sit by Ben because Ben's going to be Ben and he's going to be the same. He's going to be neutral and he's just going to talk about what we need to do and not attach emotion to it or not make it bigger or less than it is because Ben is Ben. And the consistency that he operates is so huge for our program. That's why he can make players so much better at a practice in September, but also help them to be in a spot where they can do their job in the national final. And then especially with the offense side of things. And that's where Ben and Ansem over the years had such a good relationship. And if you watch Ansem in his freshman year, you would be like, okay, that's a good setter. That might be good, but he's got a long way to go. Well, you watch him last week and you're like, man, that's the championship MVP who's going to go play pro for 15 years and play in the German national team. Well, that's Ben right there. Ben and Slimer have just been so dialed every single day over the last number of years. And, Ben is a huge part for our offensive success this year. We did tons of different stuff with running lots of different pipe variations, running lots of different middle patterns, moving Kaden to the D, moving Pierce to the D. Like our offense was very unique this year, and it really was able to align with our, the skill sets of what we needed with our team. And Ben was a huge part of that, being, our offensive coordinator. And then Joel. I mean, Joel's one of the most unique people our program's ever had. Like, so one thing about Joel is a lot of people don't know this. Joel is a volunteer. Okay, Joel doesn't get paid from our team. Okay, and Joel actually lives in Seattle, and he drives up probably once a week to come to practice, and then he's at all of our home matches, and then he still comes to some away games. Joel loves this program more than anyone, right? He's been here through the transitions, but he was here when Ron was coaching, he was here when Ben was coaching, and he stayed on board with me here. And the cool part about Joel is he's just does whatever is needed of him, right? He was, especially for myself, where Joel was here for the transition of Ben, and then now to me, and it would have been really easy for Joel to be like, oh, well, Ben did it like this, Ben did it like that. Joel is just kind of asked or sit back and let me do whatever I want to do to I feel it's best to run the program. And Joel understands that the program is now different. It is not the same it was when Ben is the coach. It's now different that I'm running it. But Joel has just been so selfless with how just how much he loves the program. I know this program gives him a lot of meaning and a lot of purpose, and that's why he's here. Um, but Joel, in some sense, has become just like a great grounding point for making sure we understand what Spartan volleyball is all about. Because we talk about the 3 decades. Well, Joel's been around here for those 3 decades, right? So, yeah, Joel is so unique, and he makes us so much better. And we're thankful that he's still so bought in, because it's a huge commitment for him, and sometimes he has to spend some time away from his family. Um, but yeah, I know we love Joel, and our staff is special this year, and that's the best part. And then the nice part is we're all friends. Like, and that's where I'm so lucky, is I get to work with my friends, and then we happen to have a ton of success and win a championship, and that just makes it so much sweeter. But that's the beauty part, is that I enjoy everyone I'm working with every day, and our staff is such a blast to be with. Um, but yeah, it's a special staff, man. Like, that would be just like the one advice I could maybe give to, like, head coaches. Not that I probably have a lot to give, but like, find good friends and good people that know what your program's about, and just have fun with them every single day. And that's been the beauty part of us. And then all of a sudden Schnitzer's got an injury, then he's back in Langley rehabbing, and then man, we got a national team middle on the bench, and he's helping us attend to. So
And
our
not to
smash
mention,
is
you've
our
got Nick Del Bianco out there too, former player of the
yeah,
year, as your arm swing coach. I mean, a bit of
yeah.
conflict of interest though, because it seems like he's spreading it around. Like he's working with a few different teams as well.
Every now and then, Nick knows where his roots are. He knows where his heart is. He bleeds blue, so we're okay. We're okay. That's a proud alumni right there. And but yeah, no, awesome staff, right? And I guess I'm the head coach, but like, man, there's way more to it than me. Benny, Joel, Tias, Dick, Schnitzer, everyone, right?
Well, it's interesting because I remember when Benjo was before Benjo left the program. There's other potential times for him to leave. And I remember one time, I think it was about 2019. No, yeah, maybe, yeah, it was 2019. And I ran into him in Winnipeg. He was doing a bit of a recruiting trip there, and we're chatting. And, he had talked about the potential of him potentially leaving. And, I asked him, like, who would be the next head coach of the program? And I was like, oh, would it be Ben? And he goes, no, I think it would be Adam. So even back then, he was already talking about having you come
Mm-hmm.
in, even though you would be one of the first year, like I think that was your
Yeah,
first year
the
on the
first year
staff
assistant
that year.
coaching. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you were just assistant coaching, and he was already kind of being like, I think long term, Adam would be the guy, but with that understanding that like everyone had their own role within all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just
Yeah,
interesting to see how that's progressed 7 years later.
yeah. So funny story. I think at some point when I was younger, I think I'd wanted to get into coaching, like even when I was like high school and stuff. I think probably because I just didn't know what else I would do with the volleyball. I don't know if it was specifically coaching I wanted to get into. I just didn't want to not be in volleyball. I was on my recruiting visit to Trinity, and Ben picked me up from the airport. And Ben and I talked about this, and I remember at the time it was such an odd comment. Ben goes like, what are you interested in studying? What would you want to do when volleyball's done? And I said, well, I think I'd want to maybe be a coach one day. And then Ben was like, oh, so you want my job? You want to take over for me? And I'm
Damn.
in I was like high school, and I was like, that's a weird comment. Like, what? And then I don't know. Then and at some point in my playing career, Ben and I were just like middle to end of my career. Ben and I were talking about what's next, like whether I'll go try and play pro or not. And then Ben was like, hey, whenever you're done, whether you play pro or not, just you come back here and you be assistant coach. And then pretty quickly after Ben left. So it was some ways like Ben almost had some like crazy master plan from like I don't know a long time ago. It was a really random story. That's something I'll never forget. Um, but yeah, Ben and I talked about that for a while. Me taking over for him. I'm just glad it worked out.
Hey, I mean, so are we. It looks like it's paying dividends to Trinity Western. Also, it's looking good too because you've been coaching with the national team as well. The past few summers, working with the U23 programs and the U21 programs. Not to take your attention away from Trinity Western, but we're kind of at that juncture of the season as you're wrapping up youth sports and stuff like that. Will you be joining back with the Maple Volleys again this summer? Will you be heading back to Gatineau?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'll be involved with two programs. I don't think it's public, so I don't know if I can say. Um,
Fair enough. You can tell me afterwards.
I'll tell you after. But yes, I will be in Gatineau for most of the summer, which will be great. And then there'll be another team that is a shorter program that I will be involved with as well. So it'll be a full summer for me coaching, and I'm happy to be back in Gatineau and happy working with Canada again. I think it'll be really fun. An exciting summer for our national team as well, especially an Olympic qualifier summer. So it'll be cool. I know there'll be a lot of energy around Gatineau, so it'll be fun.
Not only that, but I mean, you've spent a tiny bit of time around the national team, but the guys who have made up past national teams or current ones, there's a lot of guys you know. Do you agree that this is probably the deepest year that the Team Canada has had heading into a summer? Like when I'm looking at the guys who are doing things overseas and the, the battles that we're going to have for various spots, like it's going to be crazy. Like the left side is going to be gnarly to be able to get into. The opposite position is going to be tight to get into too. But like we've got guys across Europe who are putting up numbers and making big impacts.
100%. I mean, I don't know as far as I've been in volleyball that there's been depth like this,
No,
especially at the pins, right? So outside hitter and opposite. And if we got Show coming back, like he was back last summer, and then the outside hitters, like if it sounds like Mara and Eric are coming back. And if Mara and Eric are coming back, partnered with what all of the young outsides did for us last year as well. Like we still had Nick on the team last year, and then we had Skylar, we had Heslinga, we had Jackson Young. Like there were so many guys that Brody, right?
Brody,
Like
Eric Cisna, who kind of
six
handed you
nine,
guys at.
yeah,
Cisna has been outstanding in
yeah.
in Belgium this year. Van Heusen has been ridiculous for
Hmm.
Friedrichshafen as well. That
Yeah,
Jackson Powell domino brought up another Canadian to Friedrichshafen, and all of a sudden he's been one of
yeah.
their best players and has kind of gotten going again. Like it's crazy to see the talent that's going to be in Gatineau this year, competing
Hmm.
for Moncton later on in this summer.
Yeah, I think, when I was younger, I felt like that we had a few players that were in good leagues. Now it's
Yeah.
like, man, I feel like we got 20, 30 players that are like putting up numbers in big leagues, and that just makes it so exciting. And I think that's one of the exciting things I'm happy to be a part with Canada this summer. Is just volleyball in Canada is just like really high level. I think our youth ages are better than they ever have been, and that's why it's amazing to see we got U17 and U19 programs, and then at the senior level, like the amount of players we got playing in big leagues, putting up big numbers is pretty cool. So like yeah, I mean, I don't know how Dan's gonna select those rosters. Like that'd be pretty crazy. But I know whatever
Yeah.
group we put out there, like that'd be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm
Mhm.
excited for it. I think the boys are going to do well, but like I said, it's going to be cutthroat to be able
Yeah.
to make one of those rosters. I think the VNL will be interesting because it'll have to be a
Yeah.
trying ground for a lot of those guys to figure out the Norseca spots for later on in the year.
Yeah, for sure. It's also interesting, like our middle position. Like we got a lot of good young middles too, like that are doing a lot of good stuff. Like, and then we've been rotating a lot, even through like the year we qualified, like 3 or 4 years ago, and then the Olympics, and then last year's different too. Like, that's also interesting. It's like, I mean, depending on the day, you could go through so many different guys. Like, what would you? Let's say we got to qualify for the Olympics like tomorrow. What lineup would you start?
Okay. Oh, See, that's the thing is that there's so many battles out there. I think Danny has to be one of our middles. He's been
Hmm.
outstanding this year, and what he's been doing in Resovia has been ridiculous. Um, I would still go with Finn right now, just because his blocking and serving are slightly better than Kofi's.
Hmm.
But Kofi is like
Yeah.
quick to get off that bench out there. Um, I think in other years, I think Corey Schoenherr might have a chance of sniffing that roster a little bit. But now with guys like Schnitz out there, it's going to be really tough. And then there's
Yeah.
also the other thing too, like you could bring in Arthur to have him play on the right and potentially in the middle. If Arthur
Hmm.
is willing to do that, I know he didn't get that much playing this year in Olsztyn, but he did play a little bit in the middle as well. And like back in Paris, he was one of our middles, and he's just recently
Hmm.
made that switch to the outside. I think I would still go with Show on the right side. If both Mar and Lepke are back, you would be, one of those two guys has to be injured to not start those two guys on
Yeah,
on
I'd
the
say so.
outside.
Yeah.
Curry has had a fantastic year in Italy. He's been in top 10 for both, for receptions, playing for Cisterna this year. Um, and you know what? It's interesting because I didn't think we had a setting controversy last year heading into the year. I was really happy that Elgert had made the team and everything, but then, and we've all kind of heard the story of how Luke has progressed throughout and was given the opportunity. But both those guys have had pretty good years. Luke has been on the best team in Greece, and I mean, Elgert has really helped kind of a mid-level team in France really compete this year too. So I think
Hmm.
there's a pretty big battle between both of those guys as well too. I think I would
Yeah.
still give it to Luke just because he's been there before, and he's gone to the Olympics and stuff like that. But uh like Elgert was really level-headed when he came in last year too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd probably go Mara Lepke, Demyanenko, McCarthy, and then Show and her with Curry at
Uh-huh.
libero. But you'd be pretty quick to make a bunch of changes with those guys. Especially with Schnitz and Kofi and either
Yeah.
Xander or Arthur Brody on the left too. Like we've
Yeah,
got
for
depth,
sure.
and it's a little it
Hmm.
makes me excited.
Yeah, well, that's when I was talking to Dave Preston a while back, and he was talking about like you can't even call next gen. Like it's like it with the players that you didn't list there, and it's like how are they
Yeah,
next gen? Like that is like also an extended A team, an extended VNL team, basically. Like
yeah.
with the amount of players that might not even get minutes. So I think that's what's exciting about this summer, right? It's just like the caliber of players and the depth we have, and that's like the nice part. And that's what I felt like when I was growing up playing volleyball. It's like, oh, Fred better not get injured, right? Gavin better not get injured because like the
Yeah.
reality is that the depth wasn't there, right? And that's super, super exciting that the fact that we got how many legit opposites between Show and Arthur and Xander, like amazing, right? All these outside hitters.
Canham,
So
who's had a great year for
yeah,
Duran, Chris Byam, who's been really good for Lundberg as well too. Like there's guy like I mean, why am I blanking on it? Who's your old opposite? He's also having a really good year. John Obi's having a really good year in
Obi, Henry
Germany
Redpoll,
too.
Slater, right? Like
Rempel's having a good year. Sclater. I mean, I think Sclater's a little bit is done by now. It
yeah.
sounded like he was doing a little bit of almost a favor to Dan to play those first 2 weeks of VNL, but Sclater is
Hmm.
really focused on being a father now.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
yeah.
think it's like just as a volleyball fan, like it might be nice that hopefully you're not involved with the A team and you can just kind of sit back and watch them play in Moncton and kind of
Hmm.
enjoy what's going to happen, all that. But I do think we're going to see some different lineups in VNL because there's going to be a lot of guys battling for those extra
Yeah.
spots for the team in Moncton come September.
Yeah. And the nice part about that is because of that, we can be fresh, right? We're
Yeah,
not in this spot where
100%.
we got to get all these world ranking points because we have to feel like we have to stay relevant and, put results through VNL and then be broken going into a qualifier. Like we could play lots of different guys and still be in a good spot to win a number of games in VNL, which is awesome.
Is there at any point do you look at some of these rosters and some of these guys playing, and do you ever think like, hey, that I could have been one of these guys, I could have been a part of this, I could have been the setters? Like, there's ever that thought process for you that like, hey, if I had stuck with it and I had continued to play, I would be on this team and I would have been, a big piece of that.
Great question. So in the what would have been the Paris Olympics 2 summers ago, and watching Brett and Luke be the setters of that team, and Brett and Luke were the guys that I battled against my whole university career. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, my team at Trinity, Alberta, and Manitoba, like my 5 years, those were three of the top teams. Like, just amazing rosters, and Brett and Luke are amazing. And I was talking to someone at the time, being like, this would have been my cycle, and that would have been who I would have had to beat out. Was those guys. And then at that point, I think I had been head coaching for 2 years and assistant coaching for three or four before then, and I just knew what how hard those guys worked and how willing they were to just sacrifice so much to get there. And the reality was, is I wasn't willing to do that. Like for my playing career, I was ready to move on to what's next. So I always kind of thought the Paris window would have been my window to go if I wanted to pursue. Reality is I wasn't willing to do that, and I just know how willing Luke and Brett were to do it, and I just don't think I would have been able to beat them out for that reason because of just how good those guys are and how hard they work. So Brett and Luke are awesome. Those guys have become friends over the years too. Those guys are so deserving, and I was pumped for them to be in the Olympics. But yeah, sometimes you think about it, but honestly, I got no regret. And obviously, I could say that because things have worked out amazing for me. But my coaching career would have flamed out, and all of a sudden, who knows what I'd be doing? Maybe I'd have a bit more regret. But uh, no, you think about it, but I got no regret, and I'm pumped for those guys. Yeah, because it was cool to play against them and see them have that success.
Did you ever play against Luke in like school volleyball? Because he's like what, a year older than you? You both grew up in
Yeah,
Winnipeg.
so
Like,
Luke and I
was
went
there
to the same
overlap?
school. So
Oh,
Luke,
really?
so
So
my
like,
school was like a junior high, so it was like a grade like 7 to 12. And Luke
okay,
was always a year older than me, but we always had our own age team. So it was like a grade 17. He was on the grade 18, 8, 9. And then there was one year where all of a sudden I just showed up for school, and then all of a sudden it's like Luker doesn't go here anymore. And he transferred to a different school. And then in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, nice, because I don't have to beat him out. Like, I was like, I can just be the starter. But like, so I was like, Luke is amazing. Yeah, Luke and I went to the same school. And then I don't know what year it was. Maybe his like grade 11 or 12 year he left, um, which is crazy that we would have been on the same high school team. Um, but then played against Luke at club in different high school games and stuff. And yeah, Luke was amazing. Luke was also like an amazing baseball player, basketball player. Like there was some years I think he honestly didn't play volleyball. I think because he was really good at other sports too. Like he's one of
you
those
can
multi-sport
just
athletes.
you can just tell when you look at
Yeah.
Luke too that he's just an athlete. Honestly, like Luke is, and I apologize, Sean, but Luke is a more polished version of Sean McKay. In
Mm,
terms of as a setter. Like Sean, I remember watching him. This is gonna be a real back throwback, but like back when Sean was playing for Sudbury Stacks, in the OVA, like he was an absolute athlete. And I got to spend some summers coaching with Sean too, and like he is just a straight up athlete.
mm,
And watching Luke, I remember watching Luke. It was the summer of 2022 when I really got to see him when he played with the B team, and that's when the hype starting around him. And I was like, oh my goodness. And yeah, he's just a little bit setter version. He's like, I just find like a little bit more polished of a version of Sean McKay. And Luke has a
yeah.
spin serve, which Sean never had. So
Oh
he had
yeah.
that nasty
Yeah.
float, but he never had that spin serve. So yeah,
Yeah, I think Luke, I use Luke when I'm coaching young setters a lot. There's just something about setting the ball to where you want it to go. And that's amazing. Like,
he
you
sets
have a target.
pillows.
Yeah. And it's like we always talked about when Luke played at U of M, is you can tell that that ball's in the perfect spot because we never see any Manitoba players go off speed. They've never tipped, they'd never roll because the ball was just laid on this platter for him. And you got guys like Devin Deer and DeJonker and Jackson just teeing off because Luke just laid it up for them perfectly. But like, you watch Luke, if I would have put the setting target 5 feet out the sideline at 4 meters, Luke would just boom target every time. Wherever the target is, Luke can just lock in on that target, and that's a super unique skill. The ball goes where he wants it to go. Whether it's game like and actually to a target where a spiker would be, that's not the point. Luke can just dial in on a target and just be so accurate, which is so impressive. And that's a super just amazing skill. It's like the ball goes where you want it to go, and that just tells you about how much just touch and control he has of his skill. Like yeah, Luke's so impressive. He's amazing. Yeah, big fan of
You
his.
having been very high level yourself. You work on a staff with mostly setters. Even Benjo was a setter for Trinity before that. How important, like, do you think we actually undervalue the setter position in volleyball? Like, to me, it's like the quarterback. Like, if we started treating volleyball like we do American football, and liken that quarterback to the setter or the setter to the quarterback, do you think that's almost like a fair comparison?
Yes and no. Um, I just think you watch what Kaden Schmidt and Pierce DeGrief did for us last week. Like there was some times where UBC was serving incredible. And all
Hmm.
we're trying to do is get that ball to 5 meters. And then Ansem did an amazing job of not missing the ball and gave him a hittable ball. But the block out swings and the auto system attacks that those guys had while trying to, be at the net and try and block their best spiker and Jarrett. And I just think what outside hitters have to do right now is really impressive. Um, I understand there's a lot of parallels between like a setting and a quarterback, but like, man, the quality swings that Pierce and Kaden had to take for us is just making me think that the outside hitter position is pretty important right now. Um, so I don't know. I think I'm putting a bit more weight on outside hitters right now. Like if you
Fair
have a
enough.
good outside hitter, like you can be in any game, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree. I think it's maybe not quite as, it's not up there as like a quarterback, but it's still maybe a little bit more important than people give the setters credit for.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think what the setters have to do, obviously, when they're in the pocket, and I think that's what Ansem did an amazing job for us. Is Ansom's ability to be deceptive and still create separation for our two best spikers was amazing. Like the fact that we'd be in situations where we're late in sets and somehow Ansom was able to create a bit of separation, create a bit of a gap for Caden and Pierce was super impressive. I think that's why he was the MVP. Everybody in the gym knew that ball was going to Caden or Pierce. Okay. And Ansom was still able to find some separation. So yeah, I think there is kind of a bit of that art to it. And again, that's we talk about Benny's role with Ansom. Right. They did an amazing job all year just collaborating on how we can create a bit more space. So Caden and Pierce don't always have 4 to 6 hands, right? They got a bit more court to score it.
Yeah. Now, the game of volleyball in general has been evolving so much over the past number of years. Like we've seen different types of offenses come through. I mean, when you were younger and you're coming to Trinity, it was before, France and Poland had really popularized like all of the throwing and wiping. And now we're seeing different rule changes that might kind of take that out a little bit. How aware are you of these changes, and how much are you watching professional and international volleyball, both from a coaching perspective, but also just from a fan perspective, just to keep track of everything that's happening?
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt that Trinity is one of the best post-secondary, spots for men's volleyball in all of North America. So how aware are you of all of these changes to be able to keep up with it and keep up that learning
Mm-hmm.
for your student athletes?
Yeah, great question. I think the summer would probably be like this upcoming time here where I'm a bit more of a fan. It's easier for me to follow the national teams than sometimes the pro teams just because our seasons go at the same time and it's just easier to follow, through VNL, World Championships, all that stuff. So the summers where I become a bit more of a fan and watch. But I'd say the best part for us and me and our program is like the amount of alumni and then just former teammates and friends of mine that are playing in Europe is amazing. So I'll just go watch a game and all of a sudden I'll text Brody or I'll text Pierce or Leppy or Slater and be like, "Hey, I saw you guys doing this. Like, what are you guys working on here? What's this?" And then all of a sudden I'll get like a 2 minute voice note from Eric and he'll talk about, exactly what they're working on. So that's kind of my favorite part right now for some of I guess the pro game is just how many quality alumni we have playing in it. That when I see something, I can just talk to them. So me and Eric will talk a bunch. Like Eric is super aware of kind of the trends and where volleyball's going. And I think just the highest leagues in the world will be the trendsetters, right? So, what's happening in Italy might be happening in youth sports in 5 years from now. So I think that's something I think our program prides ourselves on is trying to be ahead of the trends and understand where the game is going. And one of the ways we do that is just through our pros and watching them and then learning from them. So yeah, it'd be the cool part to see what's next. That was honestly one of the cool parts about what Windsor did. Yeah, U21 World Championships, there was just kind of this middle of the court ball that all the teams were running, where their tight quicks were just all to the center of the court. It was impossible to defend because you couldn't help it in either way. And Lahis and Koski had this super difficult ball to defend, where they'd be pushed back and they just run it to the middle of the court. And it was always a one-on-one middle ball. So even when there's situations where you'd want to help, it was so moved to the center of the court that they couldn't help. And that's one thing that we've been looking a lot at too. And some one thing we learned from the U21 championships, and I guess Wins has already done it, is how you can run more middle without having help blockers. And that was one I ran one of the U21 championships, and they had this unstoppable middle ball, and Windsor did a version of it. So that would be an example, I guess, where the trend is going. But yeah, like how you run middles, like the pops and the float patterns, how you organize the bick about that, right? The variation serve, that's something that we've done a lot over the years, right? Being able to have one toss and hit 3, 4 different serves out of it. obviously the throws and wipes, that type of stuff. It'd be interesting to see if these new rules actually come into play, how they can affect that. But yeah, I don't know. I think you got to innovate, you got to evolve, right? The game's very different than, what I watched 20 years ago when it's float serving and high ball and committing. Like it's different, right? So that's a challenge as coaches is to evolve a little bit, be very confident, comfortable with what you know, but also understand you got to learn about what's next.
Yeah, I mean, speaking to Lepke about that kind of stuff, like he's playing on one of the like professionally, he's playing on one of the more one of the teams are more so on the forefront, like that Lube team and what they're doing with their offense and having the three outside hitter system and like working with Nikolov and having Eric play on the right and everything is so it is so high level. But also Eric is one of those trendsetters. We all know the lefty real
Yeah.
well out here, and it's starting to catch on in Europe a little bit too. And I'm not saying he necessarily invented it, but he's definitely the guy that runs it the best out there. So it's fun to see. And
Yeah.
then you must have such a fun perspective too, because you've got two completely different generations of Spartans playing on the same team in Turkey now, since Brody's moved over to Alanya and he's playing with
Yeah.
Marshall.
Yeah. 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 Honestly, I haven't been able to watch those guys too much, but Marshall is one of those
It's
guys as
tougher.
far as like,
Yeah.
um, athletic, creative, just players. Like you watch Marshall and you're just like everything he does is just so satisfying. So Marshall and Brody, two different players as well.
Very different. Yeah.
But yeah, and Marshall,
I
he's
mean,
fun to watch.
I've still say to this day, I think Marshall
Mm.
is one of the best like pure athletes that I've ever seen
Yeah.
play volleyball, especially for Team Canada. Like talk about a guy who's played
Mm.
everything but setter, right? He's played middle, like he won as a
Yeah.
championship back in 2015 with the national team, like going head to head with Matt Anderson and those American guys back in
Yeah.
2015. Like he's played some
Yeah.
middle reps, he's played libero, and just a baller who's just still out there killing it.
All right, I got a question for you.
All
Our
right.
staff always debates who's the best Spartan athlete of all time.
I was gonna
What
ask
do you
you
think?
this. I was gonna ask you
Okay.
this. So that's real tough because like in each generation, there's a little bit different. What like like Rudy for me was like that OG. Like he was just that consummate professional and just able to do everything that needed to be done to be able to make that team the best. And I still think to this day that 2012, like it's like '07 Alberta but like 2012 Trinity I think might be the best U Sports team of all time.
Hmm.
And like what they were able to do. I mean, this is a team that went to the Club World Championships and won a game,
Yeah,
right?
crazy.
That
Yeah.
like they went and played Fulad out of Iran, and like this is as Iran's getting better then too, and
Yeah.
they're winning a game at the Club World Championships. So I think that
Hmm.
is just a huge indication of that. Um, Nick is definitely an underrated guy out there. Like had he spent more time playing pro and with the national team, he would be out
So are
there.
you saying best player or you think or athlete?
So if you're just gonna go straight athlete, to me it's between like Marshall and Matthias. Like
Okay.
I don't know if I've like Marshall, we just talked about it, but then Matthias too. Like he sets you guys to a national championship, and then goes to play as a left side for the
Yeah.
national team.
Yeah.
And like what he was able to do was just ridiculous. Um, but I do still think that Lepke is still probably the best like Spartan and best athlete and best volleyball player of all
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
What he was able to do. And I mean, I also like much like you. I don't know if you remember when you and I met courtside of the Canada Games, watching your brother
Yeah.
win a bronze medal, and
Yeah.
your brother was your first biggest fan because he was pumping you up. He was like, "You need to go
Of
talk to
course.
my
Yeah.
brother. He's going to set
Yeah.
for Trinity next year. He's going to be the big thing." And I've like still remember shaking your hand for the first time, and you're going into your first year,
Yeah.
and you're super
Yeah.
skinny. You got these big hands, and I was like, "Oh, that's going to be interesting."
Yeah.
And that was actually the summer I met Benjo too, because he
Okay.
had coached for Team BC at the
The,
indoor
oh, the indoor
Canada
kind of
Games
games,
like
say
the week
summer. Yeah.
before, and
Yeah.
so he was like, we messaged on Facebook and all that. I was like, oh, I met Schriemer, and he went off about how special he thought you were going to be. But I got to meet Lepke when he was a 17U age playing for the 18U team at Winman, and they won a national championship. And I
Hmm.
think he was like 15 or 16 at the time, actually. And like I used to have an interview with him, and it's just young Lepke, and like the things that
Yeah.
he was always someone who, whenever I watched, he surpassed my expectations.
Mm.
There's two guys who have really done that the most, and it's Mar and Lepke. and
Mm-hmm.
they've done it just in such different ways. And they're two players that I've got to watch as they were, like younger kids. And yeah, but the way that Lepke has continuously been able to evolve his game and evolve his game and then evolve his game. And to me, there was even a moment there where, if you go back to our World Championship run back in, what was it, 2022, when he comes on, like he hadn't really been playing for us, and he kind of got blown up by Italy for us in that first round,
Yeah.
and then he responds and has a great, has a pretty good year for Padova that
Mm-hmm.
year. And then the next year was that breakout year that he had with Monza as well too, when he played with Mar and Arthur.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
then Eric was great at that Olympic qualifier as well. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, outstanding. So it's like he's continued to surpass my expectations
Mm-hmm.
continuously, and I love that. How about you? Who's like the best athlete or best player that you think
Yeah.
has
I think
represented the
player, I think you
Spartans?
just hit it. Like I don't know how you can argue what Lepke one did in
Yeah,
his time here and then two is done in his professional and national team career. There's some guys that did amazing stuff here, someone like, Ben Ball, but didn't play pro. Um, but Eric has hit both of it as far as his time here and then time with the national team. As far as the athlete, like that's tough. Like Steve Marshall's in that conversation. Matthias, like you said, Jackson Howe with like as far as just like a straight
true.
athlete is
Yeah,
there as well. And then Carter Bergen would be in the list as well. And then
yeah,
Tate Callis this year as well. Like so I just think some of the size, speed, power, those guys, like man, those guys are like, next level athletes. Um, what Tate did this year was really impressive. I think what Tate kind of sparked the conversation for our staff this year. Just how explosive he is, how athletic he is. Just everything he does is just so clean, so smooth, and he's just a powerful dude. So Tate's interesting. Those would probably be the five guys we talk about the most, like Jackie, Marshall, Tate, Carter, Tias. Yeah.
well,
So
here's my next question for you then. If you had to go like a Spartans starting seven, who do you go with?
oh, so you go Lepke. Outside hitter, do you go Brody? Do you go Del Bianco? Do you go Marshall? Like
That's a tough one. Yeah.
middle. So when we say middle, Ron Pike and Benjo say Meehan, Chris Meehan from
Okay. He was
that
slightly
'06
before my
championship.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So they always say Meehan. I never saw Meehan play though.
Okay.
But anything Ron and Ben say that goes. Um,
But then you
next
still
middle,
like you've got
that
Olympians there. Like you've got
yeah,
JVD and you've got
Van
um,
Berkel.
Van Berkel. Yeah, sorry, and not
Yeah.
and you've got Howie in there.
Yeah, I think what Jackson did in his career here, I think he had one of the most efficient seasons of all time in Canada West.
Yeah,
So maybe Jackie, opposite, Slater, Rudy. That's
yeah,
the problem, man. You can't choose. Like, look at and that's the crazy part about like our history, man. It's like there's so many cool players, and that's the exciting part. Is like when this championship team won, is when we look back 5, 10 years from now, we can now add guys like Ansem and Corey and Caden, like all of these awesome players we had to that list, and that makes this conversation even cooler. So I know I'm not answering. I just listed a number of guys, but
yeah.
I
You're
think
giving me an
we
entire
established
roster out here.
the one
Yeah.
lock is lucky. That's the one thing we can all agree on for sure.
What about setter? Like how do you go with that setter?
Oh man, I think it's between Ben Ball and the Warden.
Okay,
So yeah, Ben Ball and the Warden.
fair enough. I mean,
What do you think?
I
You're not going to get a hard time from them. Both of them are going to give me crap. So if I pick it,
here's the thing: is that like in my life, I saw them at different parts because I was still like watching Ben Ball as literally a teenager. I
hmm
was freshly 20 when he won that national championship in 2012. Um, I remember just because I would just watch Ben Ball highlight films on YouTube, right?
hmm
Like I like watching him like that 2011 2012 highlight film was one of the OGs for me. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, like I think that like Ben was just so creative with his offense. Like the Warden, like Derek Epp was just so precise and like almost like militaristic with it. Like he was able, like the way that he spread it out and the way that he run that offense was like textbook, just discipline. You were like such a consummate leader as well, like just like a quiet leader on the court. Like I'll say this, I don't know if a Ben or a Derek led team win that championship in 2016. So I think that's something that only you could have done as the setter winning that championship in 2016. Because like when you look at the rosters of like the semifinal against Alberta was real tough because who's that middle who went down?
Arnett went down.
Arnett. Like if Arnett doesn't go down in that first set, it might be a different result because him and Brett
100%.
have just so dialed in. They had played club
Yeah.
together, like they had trained together for years and years and years. They knew each other so well, and I think it was Aaron Chambers who came in, who had been with the junior national team, and he did a really good job. But that connection between Arnett and Brett Walsh was a game changer. So it's really tough because that Alberta team could have been in the finals.
100%.
But you know, like what didn't Shearhorn score like 50 almost in the semifinals in the night before, or was that in the
I think
quarters?
it was like both. I think both Slater and Shearhorn both had like 30 points or something. Like they both just like they both had 60 attempts. They both had like 25 kills, 3 blocks, 2 aces or something. Like it was just crazy numbers. Like and that was so impressive what those guys did. Just 2 beasts out there hitting pipe, hitting D, hitting right, like everything, hitting left, like
everything. Because you were setting. Scott Ploktis was sick and playing on the right side. Pierce was in the middle.
Or no, it was Lee Goosen who was sick. Scott was our kind of passing right side.
Lee Goosen, Lee Goosen was playing in the middle, and he was super sick. You're right.
And Betcher in the middle. Betcher kind of coming out party because he was just
as a
blocking
rookie.
everything.
As the rookie, Aaron Betcher. But then you guys had like a bit of a system going on in the back row because Carter was the libero, and then you had
Tyler Kozowski was the libero, and then Carter and Antonio would come
TK.
in. And that was the cool part about how our offense could be super effective off the net because TK is one of the best libero setting setters I've ever seen. Like honestly, there's not a lot of like even setters or liberos in the world right now that set the way TK did. Like he would be just flinging left side goes and flinging D balls all across the court, and that was because that was really impressive how Blake and Slater were able to score a lot. Part of it was just because of our offense off the net because TK was just such an impressive setter, and he was able to create advantage, create separation, run a ton of tempo still. So like TK was a huge part of obviously our defense, but not reception, but also our offense as a libero, which is rare. And honestly, that's what we tried to do with Tate this year. When we wanted Tate to be more aggressive, we wanted Tate to push speed a lot more. We just showed him TK's highlight reel. we brought Tate into the office. Like,
That's so
Tate,
good.
This is TK 2016. More like him, please. Like that was the only instruction. No real instructions. Just watch this.
So, actually, like I like, what was your guys' mentality heading into that final? Because if you guys at home haven't watched that 2016 national championship, it was crazy because it's at McMaster, and then that's the McMaster team. Like that's the team that was built. It was based around the best club team of all time, that 2012 Crush team. You had Stephen Marr on the left side, Brandon Coppers on the left side. Coppers, Marr is arguably the best left side of all time for Canada. Marr is no slouch. He's been playing in Poland for years and plays for, like, comes off the bench for Warszawa. Unreal. Andrew Coker was their setter, who one of the best setters in the country at the time. In the middle, they had Danny Demyanenko and Alex Elliott, 2 guys who were fantastic. Demyanenko, one of the best middles in Poland this year. I forget their right side's name. I always do, but he played for Durham Attack, and he was a 6'11" lefty.
It was McCarthy, right?
Yeah, straight Jason McCarthy. You're right.
Yeah.
Like Andrew Richards coming off the bench. Like that was the best OUA team of all time, in my opinion. And I still remember you guys get crushed in the first. You switch sides, and a free ball falls. And I've never seen Benjo so mad because I'm sitting. I did the call, so I'm sitting right there on the
Yeah.
bench,
You, Jared,
and
and
he
Dan,
calls
right?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he calls a timeout and storms onto the court, and he starts yelling on you guys before like the whistle's not even done yet, and he starts yelling at you guys, and you guys start telling you guys like these guys are better than you. They're like
Yeah.
they're effing better than you. So if we're just gonna give it to them, that we might as well just give them the national championship right now. Do you remember
Yeah.
that moment? Do you remember
Yeah, I do
that
remember the
match?
one time out where it was like, yeah, it was something about, yeah, like you said they're just better than you, but it was, I don't remember what the follow-up message from that was, but it was probably something about just like we can just probably just kind of out compete them, out fight them. Like that was probably it. Like we just gotta hang around and compete like crazy and then keep it close. And that was kind of it. Like we like somehow we had it after that time we had a pretty clean second set. We had no business winning the third, kind of like the championship this last week. Stole the
Yeah,
third set, and then all of a sudden, I think at that point it was just like it must have been some sort of like panic from McMaster because then all of a sudden we rolled the fourth, and then maybe there was some fear and doubt in their mind because I don't know what going into that game like what the thought was. Like it was such an insane run we were on because the season sucked. And like
yeah,
we were a 500 team most of the year. In some senses, probably underachieving. We were just fighting for a Canada West playoff spot. And then we got to the sixth seed in Canada West. And then we went on the road to Calgary in the best of three series, lost the first night. So we're one game away from our season being done, losing the Canada West quarter. And then we ended up winning those next two games. And then we're like, okay, man, now we got to go play Alberta. Alberta that year, I think, like 19-1. Walsh, Barnes, Arnett, Nikifor, Goranson, May, like unbelievable team. McMullen, like
stacked team,
yeah, yeah.
stacked team.
And
Yeah.
like Walsh and Barnes in college were like cheat codes. Like they were
Oh,
incredible. Just like, Mar was, right? So then we played the best game, and that might have been one of the best games I've ever been a part of, was we 3-0'd Alberta in Alberta. And all of a sudden we're like, Canada's final nationals. Like what? So it was just kind of weird. We were just like on this run where we were just like kind of in some senses playing out of our mind. But I just remember we were pretty nervous of the environment we were going into in the 2016 final. Like that McMaster
that
crowd is one of the best crowds I've ever played in front of, and they were intense and they were giving it to us. Partnered with how amazing McMaster was. It's like, man, we got to beat Mara and McCarthy and Coppers and Coker and Damianenko, and there's 3,000 like crazy fans against us too. So, um, I don't know, man, what the mindset was. We were just kind of like on this epic run and just somehow found a way. Like, sorry, I can't really give you a good answer there, but it was just like this
I mean, it
insane
was
run
10
that,
year ago.
yeah, fair. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I just remember being terrified. Like I was so nervous before that game, and
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. I just set Blake and Slater, and that's basically what worked.
I mean, Blake was just he was a dude. He just could climb the ladder so well. I think,
Yeah.
you bring up that third set, and there was a moment in the third set that really changed it all for me because it was still pretty tight. And then Sclater got one of the biggest one-on-one blocks on Stephen
Mm,
Marr that I've ever seen.
mm,
And because it was like right there, right in front of us on the bench, and it silenced the crowd, and it
yeah.
was big. And yeah, you guys changed up your game plan after the first, and then they just never responded and kind of clammed up. And yeah, like I
Mhm.
said, that's probably the one championship that you guys didn't deserve to win. But on the other hand, it may have affected the just karmatically may have affected the outcome back moving forward to 2018, the year that Lepke got sick and UBC took it
Mhm.
at McMaster once again.
Mhm. Well, that's what we kind of talk about. Is like when you win championships, you have to have so many things go your way. Like
Yeah,
one, you got to recruit well 5 years ago. Then two, you got to have a good plan and process in place to develop those players. And then three, you have to have a bit of luck, right? Like, like the reality is what helped us get through that semifinal was also Taylor Arnett going down, right? But we've
yep,
also played in important games where, Eric Lepke was sick, right? And had strep throat. Our best player
yep,
could barely play. Like, so when you're around for long enough, you don't owe anyone anything, and you need a bit of luck to win sometimes. So that's just how it goes in sports.
yeah. It is. I mean, that's why we watch it, right? If it was easy, then there would be no drama.
Hmm.
It wouldn't be worth watching. Now,
Yeah.
like speaking of drama, I kind of feel like, especially watching this, that next year, looking at the Canada West, especially, it's kind of going to be blown a little bit wide open. Do you agree with me like that? I know you guys are graduating so many of your fifth years, um, you're gonna have Kaden and Pierce, who have played huge parts for you guys, but no more Tate, no more Corey, no more Anselm. You've got different teams out there. Like Winnipeg was fantastic last year. Now that Chris has come in and taken over that program, Scott Koski's come into UBCO. Like the fact that you've got that little rivalry now between UBC, UBCO, and Trinity Western is going to get real interesting. Alberta isn't going to, like, Alberta is Alberta. They're going to continue being good. Manitoba's doing good things. Does it almost feel like the playing field is a little bit evened out coming into U Sports next year?
100%. I think that's one thing we try to really just make sure our guys understand. Is just like the bigger picture. Volleyball in Canada is just better. There's more better players. There's a ton of amazing coaches. Um, a lot of team schools just invest in a lot of the volleyball, which is great. And just the parity of the balance is great. Like at any night in Canada West, if you don't play well, anyone can beat. So that's something we feel like is pretty clear in Canada West. I mean, as far as what I would do for my preseason rankings next year, like, oof, no clue. I'll deal with that September. But like, um, yeah, Canada West, some of the highest level it's ever, or sorry, maybe not. I'd say the level's really balanced, and
Yeah, balance.
I'd say I think we're getting the same result from the conference though. I would say maybe 5, 6 years ago, the top four in Canada West maybe separate themselves, and what that did is create, whatever team came out of those top 3, 4 teams, they were really high and really ready because you beat really good teams at the end of the year. Whereas now you're playing just good teams every weekend, and the level you need to win at is requiring you to have a good level of consistency to your performance, which is allowing teams to steadily increase over the year and get you to a similar level that you were at maybe 5, 6 years ago when you were playing against just the top team. So I think that's helping our conference. And again, Canada West is an amazing conference. The teams that come out of our conference can play at such a high level and can win. And we saw it last year with Brandon. Like Brandon was the Canada West 6 seed and they won the
Yeah.
championship. Like the level is so high, right? Manitoba comes in as the 5 seed
Fifth seed.
in
Yeah.
Canada West, right? And then they go win bronze at nationals and silver in Canada West. Like, so I agree, man. Like the level is so high and it makes our league so good. It makes all the competition so fun for us. And that helps our guys a lot. Right? If you could play against great teams every weekend, that's only going to help you as you prep for national team, prep for pro. Because that's what's important for our guys as they go overseas is there's no bad teams in the pro leagues, right? So it's just helping our guys play at a consistent level, which is what we want, right? The best players play better for longer, right? And that's what we need Kaden and Pierce to do if they want to play national team, right? They got to be at their highest level for longer periods of time. And I do think our Canada West League is helping us doing that. And next year will be no different.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interested, looking forward to kind of, because the past decade has been really dominated by Trinity Western and Alberta. Like if you look at the championships over the past decade, like other than that, there's like the one blip of like Laval won in 2013, UBC won in 2018. Other than that, it's pretty
Anyone
much
else?
all.
Yeah.
No, I think that's pretty much it. I think it was just
Oh, yeah.
between you guys and Alberta.
And then Brandon
Like,
last year. Yeah.
yeah, because it was like
Yeah, that's right.
10 was Calgary, 11 was Trinity, 12 was Trinity, 13 was Laval, 14, 15 was Alberta, 16, 17 was Trinity, 18 UBC, 19 was Trinity, 21, 21 we didn't do it, 22 was Alberta, 23 was you guys,
Mm-hmm.
24 was Alberta again, and then now
Alberta.
in 25 was Brandon. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be
Yeah.
really interesting to see kind of what happens. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to answer this, but there was, maybe a bit of controversy heading into this tournament, just in terms of the amount of bids and the seeding coming in.
Uh-huh.
UBC being a 7th seed, I think, is a wild decision, based off the committee. But also, like, how do you feel? The Canada West hasn't lost a championship since 2013. They've won 90% of the championships in the history of, the CIU, the CIS, now U
Mm-hmm.
Sports. Do you feel like the Canada West should have more spots at nationals?
Well, one, I know there was some like controversy about like the seeding and what the teams were ranked at.
Yeah.
Are you aware of like the principles that are in place to follow the seeding order?
Yeah, I am aware. I'm I would honestly just like to see them ranked straight up, because there's like things like you can't, like the two teams from the same conference can't see each other, or like from the finals can't see each other in the semis.
Yeah, can't
Is
be on the
that
same side.
correct?
Yeah, you got to respect the
Um,
conference order, and then you got to
yeah,
respect the ELO ranking after that as well. So the crazy part was that was actually the correct ranking based on the principles that are in place. And I do think the principles that are in place come from a good from really good logic. It would just made it really unique is the teams that had really good years, UBC, Windsor, and Montreal, who had high rankings, didn't win their conference. So that for that
yeah,
reason, the teams that beat them had to be ranked ahead of them, and that's what made the rankings a little bit different. Um, but I believe we need to get the best teams at the national tournament. I think that's really important. I think we got probably what 60 years of data now to prove that Canada West is, I believe, the best conference in youth sports men's volleyball. I understand that you can't have more than 50% of the teams from one conference. That's fair.
that's fine.
Um,
Yeah,
I would like to see the Canada West get one more berth. Um, I think Alberta didn't get there this year. But if that Alberta team played their best, they could win the national tournament. Also, UBCO didn't
100%.
get there this year, and they
Yep,
played their best, they could win the national tournament. We learned that last year
with
with
Brandon.
Brandon. I think it's our job to get the best teams at the national tournament. I think we're close, but we could probably get a little bit closer by giving one more Canada West team.
Yeah, I mean, we were in
Is
a
that a good answer
scenario
for you?
where, yeah, I think, and it's very diplomatic, so I appreciate that too. Um, I fully agree, and I mean, if anyone knows anything about me and my views on youth sports men's volleyball, for a long time I've kind of been pushing for more OUA representation, but I think that the OUA hasn't really shown up in the past few years. I think I was doing the stats recently, and I think since COVID, the OUA is 8-23 at national championships, and they're 4-23 when not playing other OUA teams. Like half 50% of
Mm.
the wins are against other OUA teams.
Oh, everybody's
Um,
against themselves. Yeah.
so yeah, it kind of is, and I think
Yeah.
the RSCQ has actually done a pretty good job, like with Sherbrooke in the past few years being really good, and they're always kind of there. I was actually pretty disappointed with how Laval played in that opening match. I was expecting a little bit more from them, but I think in my perfect world, what I would like to see is four Canada West teams, and now if if the host team from Canada West is then it's just the top three in the host. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
that'll be fine. I agree with the no 50% rule, uh, but I think an ideal situation is be four Canada West teams, one host, the number one team from the RSEQ, the number one team from the OUA, and then the two second place teams have to play off each other in a play-in match. Meets, like they like whether it switches up, but I think that would be a hype scenario for
Mm.
like whether it's like the weekend before there's just a one match showdown between the OUA and the RSEQ to see which silver medalist is going to nationals. I think that would
Cool.
be like an NBA play-in type game. I think that would be fire and would really get that atmosphere going.
Hmm. Yeah, I think anytime you can make kind of like um, must-win games or like your season's on the line, sudden death, those type of things, those are very entertaining. I think we even added that this year with Canada West with the play-in games. Those are just entertaining. So the more time you can
Yeah,
have, those games are great. Yeah,
I mean
and that's where cool
that
epic runs
Calgary
come in too.
MRU. Yeah,
Yeah.
that Calgary MRU series was great. You've
Hmm.
got two teams who, we're kind of right there. You've got that intercity rivalry going as well too, and yeah, that's another thing too is that like there's been a lot of coaching turnover in the Canada West over
Hmm.
the past few years.
Yeah.
Like the coaching landscape looks a lot different from 10 years ago when you were playing, with like
Oh
McKay
yeah.
in Saskatchewan. You've got Voth at Winnipeg, um,
You got
Lupo
Koski
at
now,
at
Lupo. Yeah.
Manitoba. Yeah, exactly. Koski
Yeah.
as well too. So yourself at
Graham.
Trinity
Yeah.
Western.
Yeah.
Yeah, Graham as well at Calgary. So you've got a
Yeah.
lot of experience out there who's pushing the Canada West along. So I think
Hmm.
it's gonna be real interesting moving forward.
Hmm.
How do you feel about your guys moving forward? Like how like has recruiting started yet? Like is this now the time for recruiting? You're going to be hitting up provincials and nationals and stuff like that? Is that
Yeah,
next thing
yeah,
for you?
right. This is the time of year provincials, nationals heating up a little bit. Best of the West has a really good tournament in a couple weeks in Calgary that Sean Sky at Mount Royal puts on. He does a great job putting that tournament on. Yeah, the big thing is, we got our grade 12 signed, so we got to get onto our grade 11s and 10s a little bit, try and figure out kind of who they are. Um, but I think we're really excited about next year's group. We're gonna have Willem come and be our setter next year, and he's set for our junior national team this summer. And sorry, I said something and Siri lighted up on my phone. Um, uh, it was funny. There was one side note. There was a hilarious thing years ago. Whenever Joel Jansen would talk in video, Ben Josephson's phone on Siri would light up. So it was a hilarious thing in video. We laughed every time. Joel would say something,
Wow.
Ben Joe's Siri would be like, I missed that or something. We laughed every time. Side note, just because that made me think of that because my phone went off. Will, I'm excited. We're excited for him to be our setter. He's great. I think he's ready. Pierce, Caden, those guys are awesome. Kai Dimitrik is someone we haven't talked about. He's had a huge role with us over the years. He started for us most of the season, and then when Pierce came back, we decided to keep Willem on the floor. Kaiden was a starting libero for us on the championship team that we won in 23. I imagine he'll have a big role for us. And then Isaac Navarro, he's a freshman libero for us this year. And he was behind Tate this year, and I mean, the TikTok world probably knows who he is. He's pretty active on that platform, I think.
Yeah,
But
he's out there for sure.
yeah, I think the Canada West and U Sports will get to know him a little bit more throughout next season. And then the middles will be cool too. We got a lot of middles we're really excited about. Zach Uchuk played on the U21 team. Nathan Howard-Duke, he was Pac West Rookie of the Year last year. He was awesome at Douglas. Played his second year for us this year. And then Aiden Vandenhoevel was U19 middle for us as well on the U19 national team. So between those three guys and then Chase Bennett, our rookie coming in, we got four middles that we're excited about. We got to figure out which ones we're going to go with, but I think the excitement being about next year with Kane and Pierce is pretty cool. I mean, those are two of the lead outside hitters in the country, and we're excited they get one more year to play together because that's a pretty cool duo.
Is that like is this something that you're setting the expectations like come September or even August? I'm sure you guys probably start training pretty early. Is that the expectation that like, hey, this is Trinity Western Volleyball, this is Spartan Volleyball, we expect to be at the nationals every year, like we expect to be like we train to win all the time? Is that the expectation set right from the get-go?
Yeah, I think a lot of our guys, one of the reasons they came here is they saw players before them play in those big games and they wanted to be a part of that. I imagine there would be some kids we're talking to right now that watched our guys win the championship and they want to be a part of that. I think a lot of our guys come here because they want to win the championships and they want to play in those games. So I think we kind of outlined at the start of the year a roadmap and what it takes and what we need to get to the championship game. What we got to do in the Canada West. What are some specific Canada West results we need to put ourselves in a good position for the playoffs so that we can go qualify and get to the tournament. And then we kind of outline what we need to do in the different phases of the game to get there. So I think that's why you come here. You saw players before you put banners on walls and rings on fingers, and you want to do the same.
That's a line. That's something I'm maybe clipping out for sure.
Okay.
Is that something? Why is that the reason why you went to Trinity?
Sure. I think that was a big part of me. Is I love winning. I'm super competitive. I want to win. Right. When I signed to the team, I felt like, man, I know that when I get there, we can win. Right. We got a good team. Like, I get to go play with Van Burko, Del Bianco, and all those guys. Like, man, I want to win. I want to play with those guys. And I also know that the program was going to put a lot of emphasis into recruiting so that when I'm older, there'll be good players underneath me that I can win. And that was the big thing. I want to go somewhere where I can win. To me, that's the most important part on the team. Sorry, there's many other factors, but the most important part I wanted out of my university volleyball experience is being in a position where I can win championships. And I know a lot of our guys come here for that reason, and we want to put ourselves in a position to win every year and create a roster that puts us in a spot in those games to do that. Whether you do or not, who knows? Like we said, a number of things have to go right. You got to have a good recruiting years prior. You got to develop the right players. You got to have a culture that people want to win and win together. And then, like we said, you got to have a little bit of luck to do it as well.
Do you think that luck was a factor in it this year, or do you think you guys took care of your own destiny?
I'm trying to think where luck would have been a factor this year. Hmm. I don't know. Probably something that hasn't come to mind.
I mean, I'm sure
But
there's always a little bit of luck involved, but
mm,
it seems to me that this was definitely a year where you guys were in control of your own destiny and what you guys had to do.
Hmm. I think that something always got to have to go your way, but you also got to put yourself in a position that you can win on your off nights, and you got to be able to win when you don't play well. And that's where I was so pumped about our final. So we had the
Mm.
worst serving game of our season, right? But we put ourselves in a position that we could still play well in different phases of the game. And that's the thing we talk about with our guys is the three phases of volleyball, right? Terminal serve, so aces and errors, okay? And then there's first ball, right? Bumps hit spike kill, bumps hit spike stuff block, bumps hit spike attack error. And then there's transition, everything else. Those are the three phases of volleyball. Well, you got to win two out of the three phases to win a game. Okay, we lost terminal serve by 20. We won first ball in transition enough that we were able to win the game. So that's where I was pumped with our guys. So you got to put yourself in a position that if you don't play well, you could still win and rely on other phases, and you got to have layers to your performance. And that's what I think was huge about us. Serving's been a big identity of us all year. We actually were a great serving team. We happened to not be a great serving team in the national final, but the nice part was is our actual volleyball was good, and that's what we told the guys in that third set. I was like, guys, you're actually playing great. We just can't serve. So we serve a little bit better than we'll actually put ourselves in a position to play. But I guess that's a little bit of part of the roadmap to kind of get to the result we want.
Fair enough. So
Mm-hmm.
what's next for you? Like I know recruiting's a big thing, but do you get a little time to have some downtime to kind of wrap up the season first to get some rest before you jump into recruit and then a full national team summer in Gatineau?
Yeah, I guess this next month, kind of April, will be a little bit quieter. That would be where I'll take a little bit of time off. Where we'll be training a little bit, get some of our guys ready for national team. But I'll take a little bit of a break, a little bit of vacation, and then by the time May is a big recruiting month, so I'll do a lot in May, and then national team. But I want to coach a lot right now. I got a lot of energy. I'm young. In some ways, I feel better when I'm working more. So I don't want to take too much time off. And that's like we talked about, we got to follow the trends. We got to get better. And one of the ways I can get better and follow the trends and where the game is going is by going to Gatineau and being in the national team. One, I want to be a part of our national team system. I think that's great. But two, it's also important for me and my coaching to get be in the gym with the best players because I know those guys make me better. Like I feel like I became a better coach last summer by working with Chris and working on the U21 team. And I think that's important for me this year to do that again. So bit of a break. But I'll be in Gatineau. Maybe I'll see you at
What does
VNL.
like
You
an
gonna be there?
yeah, hoping to be there. Hoping to be
Yeah,
there. We'll
yeah.
we'll see how it goes. Life's a little bit different now, but yeah, definitely hoping to be there. So
Hmm.
um, what would like to be there, but what does an Adam Schreimer vacation look like? I know that you love the NFL. I'm always seeing you post about, it
Yeah,
seems like you get a dub on Saturday night, and then on Sunday you're making your way
yeah.
down to Seattle to go watch
That's
the
right. Yeah,
Seahawks play. So,
yeah.
like, are you a baseball guy? Like, are you gonna get tuned in with the Mariners and stuff like
Hey,
that now that
baseball
the
starts
season
this
started?
week, so that's
Yeah, I know.
exciting. Um,
I'm playing
yeah.
fantasy baseball for the first time this year.
Okay,
Yeah, so I had my draft last night. I got a pretty
okay.
decent team. So yeah,
That would be a way. I've been trying to get more into baseball over the years. Me and my brother have actually gotten really. Me and Matt, we've gotten pretty into it.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I like baseball a lot. Obviously, the Blue Jays run last year made it very entertaining for, I guess, a casual
Special.
fan.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Me and my girlfriend will probably just go somewhere. We'll just
Nice.
take it easy. But yeah,
Go sit on the
football,
beach.
baseball, that's the dream. Like just go watch live sports. That's a dream vacation for me. Go to some
I
NFL
mean,
game. But
right now is a pretty good time to watch some volleyball too, with all the playoff series it's going on, and Champions League getting hot and heavy this week too. So lots of ball to be watched as well.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I got a bit more time to do it now as well because we're not training as much right now, and I'm not, deep
Especially
into the
like on the
video.
West Coast, it must be nice because you've got those like 2 p.m. starts so it's like 11 a.m. start for you. You can get some work done, maybe have a second cup of coffee, throw on a Champions League game, and
Hmm.
see how it goes.
Yeah. So you don't want me, like who are the teams I should be watching here in Champions League as it playoffs
Okay,
start going?
let me pull it up just to see, because so I know that like for example, Lepke and Lube are going to be playing. Is it the playoffs or are we on to the quarterfinals? Yeah, so the quarterfinals, Lepke and Lube are playing Zawiercie. Zawiercie made the finals last year. They're pretty sick. They're
Okay.
out of Poland.
Yeah.
Um, Aaron Russell has been having a pretty good year too. So I think that's going to be a really interesting season because Everett is top of the Plus Liga right now, and they've just been super steady. But Lube has that ability to put pressure on anyone because they've got such an offensively minded team. So that's going to be good. The one series that probably won't be great is Perugia's taking on Las Palmas out of Spain. They kind of
Okay.
snuck their way in there. They've got Juan, they've got some Brazilian guys, Nicolas Bruno, old Argentinian, but that shouldn't be that good of a series. Um, Lublin, which is where Kofi and McCarthy play with Leon, are going to be taking on
Hmm.
Warszawa. Warszaw's been, you know, it's weird because they had this new Finnish coach, and actually Blair Ban is on their coaching roster too. He's coaching.
Oh,
He's one of
is
the
it with
assistants
Tommy
at.
Telekainen? Is that the Finnish
Yeah,
coach?
but he left. So
Oh,
Tommy
man.
left kind of mid-season. They had a bit of a bad spell, and he decided to leave. So
Why
I'm not
does
entirely
crazy
sure
stuff
what's
happen like that in pro? All of a sudden, like coaches will
I
get
don't
fired
know.
in the middle of playoffs and stuff, and like some of
Like
these guys will
sometimes
come
it's
back and tell their stories, and it's just like I've never heard of that. The pro volleyball world is crazy with coaching
wild,
sometimes. Yeah,
wild. I mean, some of my favorite pro volleyball stories come from Chris Voth. So you might have to ask him about that. I think you
yeah,
know the one. There's one
spilling tea.
specifically.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then the other one is Rusovia. So Danny and like Eric Shoji
yeah.
and them taking on Ziraat Bank out of Turkey. And Ziraat Bank is sick. I think
Okay.
Ziraat Bank low-key has a good chance to win it all.
Yeah,
Because they have Fornal, they have Klevno,
yeah.
Namir is on the right side. Yeni
Wow.
Pazar, who's the Turkey setter, is their starting setter as well too. So like in terms of wings, like with Fornal, Klevno, and Namir, like that's
Yeah,
I don't know if you can get much better than that in
yeah.
the volleyball
Wow.
world right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love
So
Fornell. He's crazy. He seems crazy, but I love watching him play.
yeah, he's I love just like the vision that he has, and I think him and Klevno have such good vision.
Yeah,
And then
Clevdo.
Namir has
Yeah,
so many different shots in his toolbox. He loves going high off hands. He can hit off the elbow. He can go thumb down. He can go high over the top. He can go thumb up and sharp. Like his toolbox is just there's so many different shots that he has under his
yeah.
disposal. So
Well, I'll never forget when I was a kid watching Namir play Canada in World League, and he was
yeah,
setting. Do you remember
he was
that?
setting. Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
I interviewed him back in the day.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, as a setter. So
Yeah.
he likes to say. I've heard him say that he's kind of like Moni. He was definitely offensively minded, like going in that two ball, but it wasn't quite like Moni. And Moni's a much better setter than Namir was. So I'm just going to say
Uh,
it like that.
oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it was
But
like
then all of a sudden, then
2013.
I'm watching Namir spike. Oh my goodness, why wasn't he spiking before? That's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's yeah, some
that's
good ball
great.
going on. But I do think that Lube versus Verona playoff series that's going to start next weekend is going to be one of the best playoff series that we're going to have seen in a while. Like I think
Okay,
it's going to be really good. Two very
okay,
offensive teams going toe to toe.
yeah.
Um,
Wait, is Verona? Is that the team Christensen's on?
yeah. So you got
Yeah.
Michael
Okay. Yeah. That's
Christensen
yeah.
and Namori Keita and the Rock
Yeah.
Mozic
Kate.
and
Keita.
Darlin.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that dude is something else.
Did they all
Is that
dye their hair yellow?
yeah? After they won the Italian Cup, they went good old junior hockey style and dyed it yellow. So
Okay.
it's
Okay.
it's a little bit different. Yeah, it takes you back to junior hockey. Did you ever play hockey? Were you a hockey guy?
Oh no, there's some videos of me on skates. We got to make sure those videos don't get out. I
Okay,
can't. No,
fair enough.
no, not a hockey guy.
Were you a multi-sport athlete at all, or
Not really. Just like basketball.
no?
That was kind of it. Yeah. Um,
Fair enough.
volleyball, basketball, kind of it. I liked basketball growing up. I was bad, but tall and could box out sometimes. I didn't really box out. I just kind of jumped and tipped it to myself, and the coaches would yell at me that I didn't box out. Um,
Fair enough.
but I like to dunk. That was why. Yeah, I played basketball, so I could dunk.
It seems like Winnipeg has this culture that volleyball is actually a relevant sport there, especially for younger boys.
Man, the athletes that still come out of Winnipeg are so impressive. Like even if you look at the last two Canada West finals, right? You got the U of M this year, the U of W last year. Those teams are primarily Winnipeg-based rosters, right?
Yep.
Like or Winnipeg and very close surrounding area. Um, the talent in Manitoba, especially Winnipeg, so much, and it's been that way for a long time. I don't know if I can really speak to how that is. I know there's a lot of really good quality high school coaches there that have been coaching for a long time, 20, 30 years, same high school, developing like really good high school programs. But yeah, Winnipeg, man, just a volleyball factory. Really
Yeah.
impressive. Yeah.
I was told by
Yeah.
parents, because I was actually born in Winnipeg, that had I stayed there, I would have been a lot better at volleyball instead of
Hmm.
moving to Ottawa.
Hmm.
So, but
What
never
club would you have
happened.
played for? That's big choice in Winnipeg.
Ooh, that is because, but back then it was just Bisons and Windman.
True. Yeah,
So,
true. Back then. Yeah.
um, yeah, back then, because I played in, like, my 18U year was 2010. So it was like Windman. I don't even know if it was Windman, but it was Strike that won 18U national
Drake.
championship. Devin Plett was their setter.
Right, your Dev's age. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Devin
They
Plett.
beat did they beat Crush in the final with Garrett?
Yeah, they beat the older Crush team. So yeah, my club career, like, I
Yeah, the older Crush team.
played
Yeah.
with the older Crush, and then I was coaching my brother's team in 2012 against the younger Crush. So we beat them in a set in the provincial final by serving Stephen Marr
Okay.
short.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was our claim to fame, and then we lost to 204 on the second day, which we shouldn't have, and we
Hmm.
had to play Crush in the quarters, and that's kind of what killed that 2012 team. But yeah, I got
But
to that
204
that
ended up
Strike team.
playing Crush,
Crush
younger
in
Crush in the final,
this.
right? 2012?
Yeah,
I think so,
yeah.
right?
So
Yeah. Yeah.
had we beat 204 in the semis, or sorry, on day two, we would have been moved over. But when I was coaching that team, it was crazy because I was also working for Volleyball Canada, and we were hosting World League at the same time when we had, like, Poland and Brazil and Finland in
That's
time.
right. We beat Brazil
So
that weekend.
yeah, we did beat Brazil that weekend. So I was running back and forth between coaching and working for Volleyball Canada. It was a fun weekend.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
that weekend. That was in Toronto. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that was a
yeah.
good
You would have
weekend.
been
Yeah, that was
17.
cool.
You,
You
yeah,
17.
that would
Yeah,
have been
that's
your
right.
17 year. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We
So
lost in the quarter. We underachieved that year. That year was
were
tough.
were you a Windman guy, or were you a
Windman,
204 guy? You're a Windman.
Windman. Yeah, 204 started a
I
couple
think
years
they
into
started in
my
20.
career.
Like, I think they only started in, like, 2011 or 2012. Like,
Yeah,
it
something like
was
that. So
actually, I'm
I
pretty sure I've got a 204 shirt around here somewhere that Jared's given me in the past. So I'm
yeah,
sure it says established whenever on it.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I was Windman. And then when it was also like, I felt like back then you almost kind of like the clubs were more like neighborhood based as well. Like Windman
really,
was kind of like where most of the kids in my neighborhood played. And then 204 was in some sense on the other side of the city. I don't think it's like that now. Kids move around, travel a lot for club,
oh
move to
yeah,
different clubs every year now too. And then Junior Bisons is much bigger in Winnipeg now as well. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, they were big in 20. Like, I remember younger ages, like when or Bisons were pretty big, especially in
Right.
17U.
When you would have played, yeah. And then they took a
Yeah,
few years off. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I don't think I remember them being relevant in 17U and not so relevant in 18U. But that Strike team was nasty. It was real
Right.
nasty.
Well, the year older than you was one of the last years of Bisons, I think. They were good with like Kevin Stevens.
Yeah, I think so
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, 2 years before that is when Bisons played Pac-Man in the final. And it was still one of the best national finals, like 15-13 at Carleton.
Well, that's like the
Was that?
Dan Deering, right? And the
Yeah. But
Terrell,
and on the
right?
other side, it was like Chris
Chris
Voth was on that
Voth, Dave
team.
Pischke.
Um,
Yeah.
Dane Pischke was on that team. So
Yeah.
yeah, like it was like Dan Deering and Terrell Bramwell and Jesse Sadie, who now runs Pac-Man, and a bunch of
Yeah,
those
Jesse.
guys. So
Yeah,
that
that's
was
right. Jesse. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just Jesse was their setter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So
And
it
there was
was
one of that
it was sick.
legendary warm-up videos. They were just
Oh, it's still
yeah,
such a bummer that it got deleted and lost forever, because it was
yeah,
like the warm up video of them just, and I
yeah,
remember being in that gym too, and it was just like boom, boom, boom,
yeah.
boom, boom, and it was just like it was a statement going into
Hmm.
that match too. Oh,
Yeah.
vo- volleyball YouTube of the early 2010s was something else. It was different.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Partnered with PVB. Hey, how's your Discord doing? Once I became a head coach, I deleted Discord. I was like, I probably shouldn't be on this.
That's fair. That's fair. It's doing good. I mean, it's become such this thing of its own, because like we have like 2,500 people from like around the world in it.
Oh, cool.
Um, and it's a very active place for so much stuff. So like during youth sports, it was real big.
Hmm.
Everyone's commentating on it and stuff like that. And youth sports is pretty fun too, because it does bring youth sports national championship a bit of like international
Hmm.
recognition, because especially
Hmm.
like people who are in the Discord are very high level volleyball fans, and they understand that like youth sport produces some really, really good professional players, you know?
Yeah.
So like, I think we have
Yeah.
like something like 140 Canadians who are playing professionally, just men who are playing professionally overseas at the
Really?
moment. Yeah.
That's
In,
amazing.
in so many different leagues all across Europe and Asia, and not so much South America, but mostly Europe and Asia and the Middle East. Um, so yeah, it's going good.
Mhm.
It's definitely has a life of its own, and I don't really need to curate it as much. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's good. Were you in it for a hot minute?
Yeah, I was in it when I was I guess near the maybe when did it start? I might have been in it when I was playing pro in 2019, 18.
Yeah, because that's when we would have started it in 2018. So
Okay.
yeah, but you would
Yeah.
have been an OG then if you're in it
I
then.
I
Like
think
you
I
would
was
have
in
been
it
in it
pretty
like the
early
first hundred people then.
because you had it going at the Laval Nationals in 2019, right?
Yeah, yeah, I
I
did.
think I was in it then. I don't know if I was saying much, but I was in it, I think. And then when I
We,
my first couple years assistant coaching, I was in it. But then, um, honestly, I remember one of my first weeks being a head coach, I was still in it. And someone said
oof.
something about Trinity, and I just like I got mad, and I was like, "This is crazy." And I was like, "It's probably best I don't be in a forum." So
Yeah,
it was good.
yeah.
So now I don't go on it
So
anymore. But every now and then, someone will send me something about it. Send me a screenshot, and then I'll laugh, and then that's it. But great job! What a way to get the volleyball community together. I love it. That was like when PVB
yeah,
was happening when I was a kid. Amazing. I love PVB.
man, that
PVB had
PVB,
a
yeah, but
world
that
of its own
PVB
too, though.
chat
Yeah.
board was a little different back in the day. That one
Yeah.
was a little problematic
Yeah. Shout
at
out to Noob
times.
Sauce. Noob Sauce ended it, but
Oh
whoever
man,
Noob Sauce was.
if you guys only knew the drama that the PVB,
Oh,
because I remember like I did an interview with Chris Voth where he told me that like someone had been talking on the PVB chat board about how Chris Voth, was trying to get with like Stephen Hunt's girlfriend or something like that back in the day, or one of the Hunt brothers' girlfriend, and like
yeah.
Chris Voth, of course, then he wasn't out at the time, but he's like at home being like, I didn't even like. How could it be like I'm gay? Like I didn't like that wouldn't even be me. But it was just like it just grew into such a bigger thing. That's
Oh man.
the the unfiltered world of 2000s internet was
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was
All right,
good. Yeah.
Adam. Really appreciate you taking the time to come and chat. Always a pleasure to chat with you. Uh, just about ball and about life and everything. Congratulations on your fourth national championship. Actually, before we go, where does this one rank?
Oh, that's a great question.
It's a little bit of like Sophie's Choice right now, but
Yeah, they say it's like, some coach told me this before. It's like picking what one's your favorite kid. You can't.
yeah, yeah.
Um, uh, let's put them in tiers. Okay, there's the tier of this one in 2016 because
Okay.
2016 was so special. I would say this one's in that 2016 tier,
Yeah.
and then the second tier maybe we'll say is 2017 and 23. What about that?
I
Is that
respect that.
a good
Yeah,
enough answer for you?
yeah, 100%. You got one as a coach and one as a player.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
there you
awesome.
go.
So
Yeah,
the next most special one will be in 2036.
2036. Hopefully, there's a couple more in between there, though, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, Adam, once again, always appreciate you. So hopefully, I get to see you in Ottawa for
Yeah, for
VNL,
sure.
because men's VNL will be back in Ottawa this year, which is
Yeah.
fun. And yeah, hopefully you get some rest over the next little bit. Go sit on a beach somewhere. Just go
Yeah,
hang out a little bit before
not
national
bad.
provincials and nationals.
That's a
So
good idea. But yeah, yeah. Thanks, Everett, for having me. It's great to chat. It's cool to see where our conversation goes. To talk about a whole bunch of random stuff. So
yeah,
that's great. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
of course, always. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you soon.